Try not to take it personally that Steve assigned me the chapter that's about failure. But ultimately, when Bob Johansen talks about rapid prototyping, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about aligning a change process in our schools and in our organizations for a future that changes very, very rapidly, the VUCA future that Steve described to you just a moment ago. And so it's through rapid prototyping that we create that alignment. Rapid prototyping actually is a way that we think about leveraging failure. It's a way that we think about using failure in our schools so that when we have a new idea, we fail in the beginning of the idea when the costs are lower and the profile is perhaps lower, rather than at the end of the idea when, in fact, we're really going to get in trouble. And so Michael Horn, the author of Disrupting Class, uses the phrase, make small bets out of sight. And this can become a mantra for your schools, in fact, that you can think in terms of small bets, and it's an easy way for people to think about how the change process can work. That those small bets they would make would not have high profiles. Now, rapid prototyping is different than pilot projects. All of us do pilot projects, but the difference is this, that in Johansen's notion of rapid prototyping, the failure is in the beginning. In a pilot project, the failure is at the end. We pilot something and find out when it's over that, in fact, it didn't work, but it doesn't give us a chance necessarily to learn from it. And so there are three things in rapid prototyping that Johansen says are very important. One is this trial and error mentality, this ability to have a bias for action. The second one is that when we hear a new idea, when we have a new idea, we take that idea and our immediate instinct is to get it into the field, not to create a committee. To take the idea and get it into the field as quickly as possible and to skip right past all the advanced planning that is so common to academic environments and to our schools. And then finally, the last piece, the piece that really is the way that that alignment occurs, is that we maximize our learning by prioritizing speed. That in fact, we know the world is changing around us too quickly for us to wait and deliberate. And in fact, what we do is we get in the field as quickly as possible with that bias for action in order to learn at a pace that in fact aligns us with how quickly the world is changing. Now, this flies in the face of values that are important in independent schools, values that in fact all of us have held, cultural things that have been passed from school to school and leader to leader, ways in which we've all been mentored, and things that have been very positive and really worked for our schools over time. And I think there are three things that Johansen is really challenging us in. The first one is that we have a value in schools that leaders do extensive planning. That's what they do. We're all planners. We all have big books on our shelves. We all have strategic planning mechanisms and consultants who help us. And doing extensive planning is really part of the definition of what a leader is as independent schools have thought about it. We also have a bias toward creating a lot of democratic participation in our schools as a way of building consensus. And rapid prototyping does not allow for that consensus to be built before we're in the field learning. But keep in mind the bet is small. We're not betting the institution on this. In fact, we're betting a single group of students, a single teacher, a single classroom. And then finally, part of what we're all taught to do is to mitigate risk and promote success. All of us talk about success, 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 setting up our students for success, and I suspect our boards talk about us being successful from time to time as well. And so this is gaining a comfort level with failure. Three examples of how this has worked for us at collegiate school. Several years ago, we thought about teaching Chinese. In the past, we would have called committees, we would have had departments meet. Instead, we started a Chinese club within a week of having the idea. We got a teacher who came in very quickly and learned how our students were going to respond to Chinese. When we do technology rollouts now at collegiate, we get devices in the hands of our students as soon as they come out off the factory floor and into the retail store. We don't do technology planning as it was conceived 10, 20 years ago. In fact, we have devices in the field as quickly as possible, learning from them. And then finally, many of us have experienced flipping classrooms. When we got into flipping classrooms initially, we had a teacher who came back and said, I want to try this. We got her the equipment and said, do it tomorrow. Do it in one of your classes tomorrow as quickly as possible and see what you can learn from it and see how you fail from it. And so getting in the field and the bias for action is in fact the most important thing. And in fact, learning how to go from failure to failure in rapidly prototyping new ideas and learning from that in a way that aligns us with the way the world is changing is what Johansson's talking about. Thank you.